Should I start?
Yes, please.
Okay. I want to thank Boulder City Council for their time and consideration. My name is Dr. Ari All. I am a physician and psychiatrist working in Boulder, Colorado. I'm here to talk about decriminalization of psychedelics. In the past 10 years, research has shown that psychedelics can have a profound effect on anxiety, depression, and trauma. A single dose of psilocybin has much higher remission rates for depression than the traditional antidepressants we currently use in psychiatry. In that same line, MDMA has been shown to have the highest efficacy for trauma and PTSD of any treatment tried so far. As for safety, studies have shown that in terms of harm to society and harm to the person taking the drug, alcohol, heroin, and cocaine cause the most harm, while MDMA, LSD, and psilocybin cause the least harm of any illicit drug. A recent study from the Journal of Psychopharmacology showed that those who use psychedelics are actually less likely to commit a crime than the general population. Denver has decriminalized psilocybin, and a review panel by Denver's City Council reported, quote, decriminalizing psilocybin mushrooms in the city and county of Denver has not since created any significant public health or safety issue in the city. As for addiction, studies have shown that psychedelics have anti-addictive properties and can be used to treat diseases such as alcohol addiction. Furthermore, due to the high tolerance that occurs immediately after taking psychedelics, traditional psychedelics such as LSD and psilocybin are extremely hard, if not impossible, to use every day, lowering the risk of abuse. I ask that Boulder City Council make decriminalization of psychedelics a priority in order to end arrest and match our policy with the prevailing science. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ari.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for taking the time to listen to me speak this evening. My name is Justin Weiss, and I'll also be speaking on the topic of decriminalizing visionary plants and fungi, such as the psilocybin mushrooms, DMT-containing plants, and preparations such as the ayahuasca brew and mescaline-containing cacti. So for the last 7 years, I've worked for the Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies, which is a nonprofit dedicated to medicalizing and legalizing psychedelic drugs through the rescheduling. And I've worked on the MDMA PTSD trials, and therefore I've seen upfront the astounding power that these drugs have, in addition to their surprising safety profiles. While I envision legalization of these drugs, the decriminalization approach is an incredible start. So decriminalization would help destigmatize drugs that may have more dangerous legal ramifications than they do detriment to the body and brain. So while there's a vast amount of scientific validation behind the benefits and safety of these substances, I'm going to focus on the ramifications of these new findings themselves. So the acceptance of psychedelic substances is becoming a mainstream happenstance, with major names in science and journalism, such as Michael Pollan, openly advocating for reconsideration of drug laws. More people are going to be curious about the current scheduling of these drugs, which once again are right alongside life-threatening substances in their legal classifications. So as cannabis legalization has become concomitant with progressivism, I expect we'll see the same case with psychedelic plants and fungi. There are a number of cities that have taken this approach, as was just mentioned, and as a consequence, many non-violent drug users who no longer have the same risk of their lives being compromised by the legal ramifications. So with increasing curiosity around the medical potential for so many of these substances, we can only expect to see more people drawn to psychedelic alternatives for the ailments that they may help remedy. Decriminalization of psychedelic plants and fungi is a chance for Boulder to continue being a safe and inclusive place to live. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Justin.
Hello, Council. My name is Kyle Castleberry. I'd like to take this opportunity to share a particular part of my personal story with you. In 2017, at the age of 33, I found myself at the bitter end of my emotional and spiritual inaptitude. Up to this point, I had struggled all my adult life to feel and relate to the experiences of my own life in a good and generative and connective way, and so unable to relate to the experiences of others through connection and compassion. Like my brother, mother, her mother, and a line of ancestors before them, depression among us was configured in such a way as rendering us powerless in the face of inclement mental health to an unfortunate degree. Ayahuasca changed that for me, and later, other plants. I'm also here today to voice my desire for Boulder to decriminalize the use of entheogenic plants and fungi. I don't use ayahuasca anymore. I received the messages and the healing. It defragmented and reconfigured me. Today, I not only embrace my own life, but truly create from it a fully engaged experience of joy, pleasure, co-creation, and frankly, happiness. This allows me to actually touch the lives of others in a good way, and it's a direct result of plant medicines. My gifts in this life have since blossomed. I share them frequently with my different communities. 3 weeks ago, I facilitated teaching children aged 7 to 13 at the Boulder School of Fine Arts at Art Camp. 2 days ago, I facilitated teaching adults at a retreat over the course of 5 days. I thank plant medicines for these connections. Things growing from the earth should be sacrament, not criminal. Thank you for your ear and for your time.
Okay, thank you for this opportunity to speak to you all tonight. My name is Tammy Brennan. I'm a licensed clinical social worker in the state of Colorado. I've been practicing for over 23 years in healthcare primarily in hospice, palliative care, and grief and loss. Over my years, I've worked with hundreds of patients with major psychological needs that center around anxiety, depression, as well as emotional and existential distress. Today, I'm hopeful with your support that soon psychedelics will become available to treat and help these patients and many more that you've heard from tonight. We know now through research and clinical trials at renowned institutions like Johns Hopkins and many others across the US that psychedelics work, and in some cases reports of 65 to 85% relief of the emotional existential distress of people who are at end of life. Not only are these treatments effective, but the results can often be immediate following just one dose. This is critically important for the people that I've worked with all of these years who have often life-limiting or terminal diagnoses. They may have only weeks to months to live, and traditional therapies and approaches that I've done over my 23 years often fall short of really being able to help relieve their suffering. All of these patients I've mentioned and others, especially the ones that have a life-limiting diagnosis or a terminal diagnosis, deserve to have access to psychedelics so that we as their providers and caregivers can help them live the remainder of their life with as much peace and comfort as possible. I hope that you will see that Boulder County could set a wonderful example.
Tammy, your time is up.
again,
Thank you very much for your testimony.